What's up YouTube, 426 Tractor Guy here. Today I'm going to show you how to replace the clutch on a 2008 Yamaha Raptor 250. I burned the clutch out on a ride the other day, so I ordered the parts and today I will show you how to replace it. The parts I'll be using is the Tusk High Performance Clutch Kit and their heavy duty springs, and I also bought a Pro X gasket for the clutch cover just in case I tear the one while installing the new clutch. The first thing you'll want to do is drain the oil because there is lots of oil in there, and if you don't drain it you're going to have a huge mess on your hands. So I have another video on how to change the oil in your quad, show you how to drain it, and after I get done I'll come back to you after this. Okay, now that I have the oil drained out of the quad, let's get this clutch cover off. So to take it off, first I'm going to have to take off this foot peg right here. So let's get that off. I'm gonna quick go grab my tray. I'm just going to take the footrest off so that it's a little bit easier to get the cover off. Come on out. And let me quick go get a 14mm socket. Get this one off. That one's under tight. This video is going to be a longer one than normal. I try to keep my videos nice and short, but this one's going to be longer so I can show you every single step of replacing the clutch, so that you can get it done right the first time. Get this spring off. Pliers real quick. Just gonna let that sit down there. And now put the spring up there. Next I'm gonna get what looks to be an 8mm socket and also I think a 4mm hex key to get these off. Is that a 4? Nope, it's a 5. Yeah, you'll need a 5mm hex key for these. I don't know how well you can see them. To get the oil cooler lines off. Oh, that was on tight. Make sure you have your oil drain pan ready. because it's going to drain some oil out. I want to be careful to not touch the muffler, because that will burn you pretty good. I might have to take my skid plate off later because I got it all in there. And now I'll have to get this one off where the oil filter is. Get that one. And this one. And this one. Make sure you wear rubber gloves so that you don't get oil in your hands, because it's really bad to get oil in your hands. And also make sure there are some rubber gaskets in here. You don't want to lose those. It's all in my other video on how to change the oil. See, it's a rubber gasket here, and no, that one doesn't want to come out, so that's fine. Take my filter out. I'll have to clean that out later. Okay, now let me get my 8mm socket and I'll be right back. Okay, let's start taking this cover off. Now, when you take these off, you want to be careful. Make sure you remember how the placement was, because they might all be different lengths. But they should be all the same. Or almost all the same. Yeah, make sure you remember how you took these out, because there are some that are all different lengths, and it'll just make your job a little easier. This one's going to be a longer one. Yeah, just be really careful you don't hit your hand on the exhaust, because if you just change your oil and you warm the engine up so that you can change it, the exhaust is probably going to be hot. Now if you change your oil like a couple hours before you did this, you'd be fine. Another thing, don't forget to take this off. Right here, it's a 12mm. Make sure you get that off. Might have to wait until you get the rest of the cover off. Let me get the cover off and then I'll be able to get that all the way. I might have to cut the video because taking these off was a bit longer than I thought. A couple left. I'll definitely have to take my skid plates off because oil leaked all over them. Take them off, clean them out. Now it should come off. Let's see. Am I forgetting anything? Come on. I do believe it's just stuck on this. Let me quick put it back a second. Take this off. Drop something here. Now I should be able to get this off the rest of the way. Yep. That's off. And now this should just pull right out. Careful to do it. Okay, good. I didn't tear the gasket, which is a really good thing. Make sure you don't lose anything off of it. Now, next thing you'll want to do is take the clutch off. Let me just look at it real quick. Just gonna see if there's any damage on the inside, which there doesn't look to be any at all. I'm gonna put these back in here just to get them out of the way for now. Just gonna thread them in part way. That way I remember which one went where and I won't lose them. Now I have a book that has the correct torque for this. I don't remember it at the moment. I'll have to go get it and look at it later. Now let me finish screwing these back in and I'll be back in a second. Okay, I have all those put back in now and let's start taking this off. It's 10mm. There are springs, so you want to be careful in case it shoots out. Get this off slowly. Now, when you take the clutch plates out, you want to remember the sequence that it was in, because you don't want to put it in wrong. There's one spring. Let's get this one across from it out. I'm going to loosen them all first. Here, wait, let me go get my driller real quick. That'll be a lot faster. There, that's a lot faster. Okay, so let's see if it comes out. I have to take that out in the center right there. Nope. Okay. Slowly take this off. Inspect it, just make sure it's nice. Make sure it's not messed up at all. I'm gonna clean it off real quick. Let's get that oil off. Now, let me quick go get a tray to put these in because they'll make a bit of a mess. Now, remember the sequence you took them off in? The clutch plate, and then there is a spacer plate. So, came off clutch plate, then spacer plate, then a clutch plate, then a spacer plate. There. Now, looking at the clutch plates, they are worn down. It has definitely gone bad. Let's look at the basket. Make sure it's not messed up at all. Looks good. Now let's just... Yep. And there's good. I'm just gonna wipe it in here a little bit. And now, let me get out the new clutch plates, and I will show you what to do before you install it. See you in a minute. Okay, now you take your new clutch plates and put them into a container and let them soak in oil. I would recommend letting them soak in oil overnight. 12 hours. And before installing them into the quad, that way they just soak up the oil and nothing will get damaged. So we'll let that soak in the oil overnight, and I'll see you later when it's done. Okay, we've let the clutch plates sit in the oil for overnight, so now let's get it installed on the quad, and I'll see you when I get over to the quad. Okay, so you want to pay close attention to this part on how you put them in, because it has to go in the same way you took them out. So the way that mine came out was a clutch plate went in first. Come on. clutch plate first, and then a spacer plate. And then a clutch plate. This is going to drip a little bit of oil on the floor. So, and then another spacer plate, real quick. So you're going to want to clean up when you're done. You don't want oil all over the floor. So you're just going to keep repeating clutch plate, then spacer plate, and the outermost one when you're done should be a clutch plate. Put a couple more. Almost done with this. Now this is quite a messy job. When you do it, you should probably put like paper towels or rags on the floor. I didn't do that, and I'm regretting it now because there is oil everywhere now. So see, clutch plate on the outermost one. And that's the sequence it should go in. I'll quick grab some paper towels. Now, when you have that done, you're gonna want to you're gonna need a torque wrench, because there is a specific torque that the springs get tightened on. First, let's slide that on there, and let me grab my torque wrench and I'll be right back. Okay, I grabbed my torque wrench and tighten these partway off camera, and you're gonna want to tighten them down in a crisscross pattern. Like you start at this one, then go here, here, almost like a star, and you're gonna want to tighten them to 6 foot-pounds of torque. So let me just tighten them almost all the way with my drill. And you see the pattern that I followed with the drill. You're going to want to follow the same pattern with the torque wrench. Fortunately, I don't have a 3/8 drive foot-pounds torque wrench, so using a 1/2 inch. Let's get here. Wait, let me quick put an extension on. This is a bit cumbersome. I'll have to get a better torque wrench soon. You know what? I'm gonna tighten them a little bit more with the drill. It's a little too tight. And now let's switch over to the torque wrench. It's almost there. There was a click. Okay. Now let's do this one. And then there's another click. Another one. So you have to be really careful. You have to do 6 foot-pounds. And then let's squeeze the clutch a little. Perfect. Now, I'm going to take all these bolts out, put the cover on, and tightening everything back up and fill up the oil, and we should be done. Let me get these bolts off and I'll be back in a second. Okay, I've got the cover back on, and let's start putting the bolts back in. First, you're going to want to tighten them all by hand before using your drill, if you are using a drill or a ratchet. You don't want to strip the threads out. And let me get all these in by hand, and I'll see you when I'm done. Okay, before we get too far, I forgot to mention, there is an oil line right here that is attached to the crankcase, so you're going to want to, when I took it off earlier, I forgot to mention it, there is a washer right here. So let's try to slip that back in. Okay, let me get it back in, and I'll be back when I'm done. Okay, to get that oil line back on, I had to loosen the exhaust a little, just enough so I could wiggle like 1/8 of an inch so I could get that washer underneath it. But yeah, you're gonna want to get that oil line back on. You can't forget that. And you might want to take that. There's a little leg guard on the exhaust. You might have to take that off. Wrench will fit on. Let's just tighten this thing up. Okay, that's back on. And let me quick finish getting the rest of these screws on, and I'll be back. Okay, I have them all tightened, and almost all tightened. Just, they're all hand tight now, and let's just quick use a ratchet and tighten them on nice and snug. Don't want to over tighten them, just make them nice and snug. Now, this one right here, if you can see, don't put any of these 8mm head on there because that's for the oil filter. You'll see when you do it. Now, you'll want to put your oil filter back in. Make sure you get all your rubber gaskets back in the right spots. And make sure they don't fall out when you're putting this cover on. Let's get this one back in. Get your 5mm hex key. Just tighten these up. Now, we should put the oil lines back on. Wrong one, come on out. Okay, I'll get these oil lines back on and see you when I'm done. Okay, let me get everything back together and then you can put oil in. And you should be done. So, this. It went through to right there. Let's tighten it up a little. Come on, go in. Okay, that one doesn't really want to go in it easily. Okay, I got that one in. The bottom one in. These are 14mm heads. And then let's hook this spring back in here. It's all still loose for the moment. Now this is a 14mm, so let's get this on. Now these are 12mm. Where's my, let me quick go grab my 12mm socket. Let's get this back in there. One more. Let's get that one in. Now let me get this guard for the muffler back on. Oh. Where's that other washer? Okay, you know what? Let me get everything back on and then I'll be back soon. Okay, now that we have everything on, we are going to want to fill up the quad with oil. And I have that in my other video, which I will link in the description. I'll be back when I'm done filling the quad with oil. Okay, once you have the oil put in your quad, you should be ready to ride. Take it nice and gentle at first, see how well it works, and that's all there is to it. I hope you like the video. Please subscribe, like the video, and comment down below. See you next time.